Imagine a North America where ancient stone fortresses, formidable and defiant, rise from the wilderness. Majestic strongholds built not by European colonists, but by the indigenous peoples who called this land home long before any sails touched its shores. This isn't the history you know. Image_shorts_1, a lone figure seen from behind, silhouetted against the grand stone wall of a castle, gazing up at its battlements. Image_shorts_2, two robed scholars back to camera, walking toward the entrance archway of a weathered stone fortress, sunlight filtering through the trees. Image_shorts_3, an extreme close-up of an ancient artifact, a small, intricately carved stone tool resting on a rough-hewn stone surface, texture emphasized. What if the Iroquois Confederacy, renowned for their longhouses and palisaded villages, had instead mastered the art of stone masonry, erecting impregnable castles across their vast domain? How would this single architectural shift have reshaped the destiny of a continent? Image_shorts_1, a silhouette of a warrior standing atop a stone battlements, looking out over a vast forest. Image_shorts_2, two figures in traditional Iroquois attire, back to camera, looking at a detailed stone carving on a castle wall. Image_shorts_3, a close-up of rough-hewn stone blocks, showing fine chisel marks and natural striations. In this alternate timeline, a world of speculation, not history, we delve into the colossal implications of such a change, tracing the rise of a stone-fortified Iroquois empire. Join us as we unlock the Historix Vault and explore this compelling what-if. Image_shorts_1, a silhouette of a group of Iroquois figures gathered around a small fire, with the distant stone walls of a fortress partially visible. Image_shorts_2, a single figure, back to camera, looking at a detailed map etched into a stone table outlining defensive positions. Image_shorts_3, a close-up of an intricate geometric pattern, carved into a smooth piece of dark stone. In the actual 15th and 16th centuries, the Haudenosaunee, or Iroquois Confederacy, was a political and military powerhouse across what is now upstate New York. Their strength lay in unity, diplomacy, and formidable palisaded villages protecting their iconic longhouses. But our timeline diverges around the early 1500s. Instead of simple earthworks, a visionary Onondaga chief, perhaps inspired by natural rock outcrops or an accidental discovery of superior mortar techniques, champions the idea of permanent stone defenses. Initially, it's experimental, a robust stone foundation for a watchtower, or reinforcing the base of a critical longhouse with solid rock. The lessons are learned through trial and error as they discover the best local quarries and methods for cutting and fitting stone. The first true test comes swiftly. A minor raid from rival Algonquian tribes, easily repelled by the surprisingly resilient stone base of a newly fortified granary, proves the concept's worth. The attackers' arrows and firebrands simply glance off the impervious rock. Word spreads like wildfire. Clan mothers and chiefs, seeing the undeniable advantage, pour resources into this new architectural paradigm. Stone masons become revered figures, their skills passed down and refined, transforming local quarries into bustling hubs of activity. Soon, rudimentary stone walls begin to encircle entire villages, replacing or reinforcing the traditional wooden palisades. These are not mere walls, but complex defensive perimeters, incorporating natural terrain and offering multiple layers of protection. Neighbors, such as the Huron and Susquehannock, initially dismissive, watch with growing alarm. Their own raiding parties, once confident, now hesitate at the sight of these unyielding gray ramparts, a stark contrast to the familiar timber defenses. A major offensive by the combined forces of the Erie and Neutral nations is launched against a key Seneca stronghold. For weeks, their relentless assaults falter against the towering stone walls, ending in a devastating retreat. But this was only the beginning. The late 16th century becomes the golden age of Iroquois stone architecture. Inspired by victory, the Confederacy embarks on an ambitious building program. Grand, multi-towered castles, echoing the strength of the land, rise in strategic locations. These stone behemoths are not just defensive strongholds, they are centers of trade, governance, and culture. Each fortress carefully placed to control vital river crossings, ancient trails, and rich hunting grounds, forming an impenetrable network. The Iroquois, now intimately familiar with stone, even adapt their offensive tactics. They developed specialized siegecraft, using heavy battering rams and elevated firing platforms to breach the less robust defenses of their rivals, showcasing their mastery of construction and destruction. Then, the first Europeans arrive. Dutch traders, venturing inland, are utterly astonished not by crude native settlements, but by sophisticated, defensible stone structures that rival anything in their own homeland. Their maps are redrawn in awe and trepidation. French explorers, pushing south from New France, quickly realize they face not scattered tribes, but a formidable, unified power. The Pays des Cinq Nations is no longer just a loose confederacy. It is a fortified realm, a true indigenous empire of stone. Tensions inevitably mount. European demand for furs clashes with the Iroquois control of prime hunting territories, and their desire for expansion runs headlong into stone walls. The French, in particular, see the Confederacy's strength as an obstacle to their ambitions. Unable to gain advantage through diplomacy, the French forge a grand alliance with their Algonquian and Huron allies. Their goal, to break the Iroquois, power once and for all, starting with their capital, the mighty fortress of Kaniatarowanen. The Great Siege of Kaniatarowanen begins. Thousands of Allied forces descend upon the fortified capital, a sprawling complex of interconnected stone walls and towers. The ground trembles under the weight of their advance, the air thick with anticipation. European cannons, brought inland with immense effort, begin to pound the ancient stone. Scaling ladders are thrown against the walls, met by a hail of arrows, rocks, and boiling water from the Iroquois defenders, who fight with grim determination. The Iroquois, veterans of countless smaller sieges, utilize every defensive innovation. Hidden sally ports unleash swift counterattacks, confusing the attackers. Inner courtyards and secondary walls create death traps for any who breach the initial perimeter. Weeks turn into months. The attackers suffer heavy losses, their morale waning under the relentless defense and the harsh elements. Supplies dwindle, and disease begins to spread through their encampments. Within the French command tent, commanders argue. Some advocate for retreat, fearing winter's arrival. Others push for one final, decisive assault, desperate to salvage their honor and secure their strategic goals. In a desperate push, a heavy French cannon finally blasts a significant breach in one of Kaniatarowanen's outer walls. A roar of triumph erupts from the Allied lines as they surge forward, believing victory is within their grasp. But the Iroquois were ready. Behind the breach, a second, stronger wall, meticulously prepared, awaited. Archers and musketeers unleash a devastating volley into the confused mass of attackers, trapped in the narrow choke point, turning triumph into slaughter. The attack collapses, the siege broken, a humiliating retreat begins, leaving behind countless dead and a shattered ambition. Kaniatarowanen stands, bloodied but unbowed, an enduring symbol of Iroquois strength and the power of stone. The victory at Kaniatarowanen reverberates across the continent. The Iroquois Confederacy emerges not just victorious, but unchallengeable. Their prestige among other indigenous nations skyrockets, and European powers are forced to confront a new reality. Rather than colonizing, European nations now approach the Haudenosaunee as equals, even superiors, entering into treaties that respect the Confederacy's territorial integrity and sovereignty. Fortified borders are acknowledged, not challenged. Trade flourishes, but on Iroquois terms. They leverage their strategic position and fortified trade routes to dictate favorable prices for furs and goods, controlling the flow of resources across the region. While resisting outright assimilation, the Iroquois selectively adopt European technologies. Metalworking, improved tools, and even some firearms are integrated into their culture, often adapted for their unique construction and defensive needs. The Confederacy expands its influence not solely through conquest, but through a network of protected trade alliances and shared defense pacts. Neighboring tribes seek their protection, recognizing the power of their stone fortresses. A fortress belt of interconnected stone castles and watchtowers emerges along their extensive borders, a permanent deterrent against aggression, ensuring peace and stability for centuries. Within Iroquois society, specialized castes of engineers, architects, and master masons gain immense prestige. Their knowledge of geology, geometry, and defensive strategy becomes critical to the nation's well-being, driving further innovation. The Iroquois language and cultural practices become a dominant force, spreading alongside their trade networks. Many European diplomats and traders learned Haudenosaunee to facilitate communication and commerce. British expansion, which historically played a crucial role in American history, is significantly curtailed. Their push westward is stymied by an unyielding wall of stone and a unified indigenous power that commands respect, not conquest. North America in this timeline looks vastly different. A powerful indigenous state stands tall, not a fragmented collection of tribes. European colonies coexist, but they do so alongside, not over, the enduring Iroquois Empire of stone. The stone castles of the Iroquois stand for centuries, testaments to ingenuity, resilience, and a different path history could have taken. They are not ruins, but living monuments, centers of an enduring civilization. This What If isn't just about buildings. It's about sovereignty, power, and the profound impact a single technological shift can have on the trajectory of an entire people, answering our hook with a resounding declaration of indigenous strength. In this alternate world, the Iroquois did not fade. They built, they endured, and they shaped a continent in their own image. It's a vivid reminder of the countless possibilities hidden within the folds of history, waiting to be unearthed. Every empire has a story history forgot. This has been Historix Vault. More are coming. Subscribe so you don't miss the next one.